Kyrie Irving traded to the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic finally gets his co-star. What does this move do for the Dallas Mavericks? Was this the right move for Dallas to make? Does this move make the Dallas Mavericks title contenders? We're going to break down all of that for you in just one moment right here at Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Next game, how about Luka Doncic to score more than 26.5 points? What about LeBron James to have more than 7.5 rebounds? How about Jaren Jackson Jr. to have less than 5.5 blocks? Or what about Ja Morant to have more than 2.5 dunks? So what is Prize Picks? It's daily fantasy sports, but how does it work? Basically, you pick 2 to 6 players and they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection. You can win up to 25 times back on your money on any entry that you submit. That's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch. That's NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, you name it, they've got you covered over at Prize Picks. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that simple. They're safe. They offer fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Joining us now is the host of Locked On Mavericks, Nick Angstadt, who you can find wherever you listen to your podcast, as well as YouTube. Just search Locked On Mavericks. And Nick, the NBA landscape is so crazy because a couple days after it was initially reported that Kyrie Irving wanted out of Brooklyn, he has now been dealt to the Dallas Mavericks for Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, a 2029 unprotected first-round pick, and a couple of second-round draft picks. I hear the deep sigh. Was this the right move for the Mavericks? Let's start there.
It was a move for the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks have been in a situation the last couple of years where, all right, we got to get a star next to Luka. We tried the Kristaps Porzingis thing. That ended up not working out. And then the Mavericks were kind of stuck in this era of, all right, let's try and hit some home runs with things. Let's try and hit some singles, some doubles. Let's try and just get some pieces around Luka. Even going into last year, the Mavericks didn't think that they were a Western Conference Finals team. They thought they needed to still make a move to go get a star. And so part of the problem with Jalen Brunson and that whole contract was they were going to give him an extension, but with the extension, they knew that he was super tradable, and Brunson knew that he was super tradable. There is a world where Brunson is in this deal instead of Spencer Dinwiddie at this point, and the Mavericks are sending him off to the Brooklyn Nets. And so now you bring in Kyrie Irving, and it's a big risky move. Obviously, there's a lot of risks involved with it. Injuries, suspensions. He could say something over the next couple of days and all of a sudden alienate a big portion of the fan base. He could, all of a sudden be suspended. Like, who knows what could happen over the next couple of days here. But you bring in a guy that is obviously the best player Luka's ever played with. It's the best offense in the NBA now with Luka and Kyrie. There's not many options for players. The Mavericks have run this offense this whole season that has driven me insane, where it's one player has the ball, one player does everything, and then everybody else kind of get out of the way or spread the floor. And Kyrie Irving could do that really, really well.
Stylistically, I can't help but look at this new duo with Luka and Kyrie and think, man, this feels very reminiscent to when Kyrie played alongside LeBron James, right? I mean, stylistically, Luka, very different player than LeBron, but he's like kind of the engine, right? The straw that stirs the drink for the Mavericks. And now you've got Kyrie next to him who can potentially be the closer for this Mavericks team. I mean, what specifically does Kyrie do for Luka and this Mavs team now?
He takes the basketball. He dribbles the basketball. He puts the basketball in the hoop. Really? Like, they needed that. They did need that. I've seen a lot of tweets and things today of people saying, oh, got to get 2 balls now because there's only 1 ball. It's different in the NBA now. 2023 in the NBA, it's just so different. You need 2 of these guys like this to be able to handle when Luka is off the court or when Luka just needs a break for a minute. Somebody that can go and handle the ball. Spencer Dinwiddie had done a decent job, but anytime Luka was not on the floor this season, the Mavericks offensive rating was like 107. It would be like one of the worst in the NBA this season. So they had been really bad when Luka was off the floor. They had been great when Luka was on the floor. They've needed somebody to be able to carry the Mavericks when Luka was off the court. And this is a player that can do that offensively.
How much does losing Dorian Finney-Smith hurt the defensive side of things for the Mavericks?
Can we start with my heart first? Dorian is one of the most loved players in of all the Mavericks. He's my favorite non-Dirk Maverick of all time because of the way that he started his career. He developed. He just became a great guy that you wanted to be around. But defensively, he guarded 1 through 5 to varying degrees of success. But the Mavericks asked him to do that. And he's just a very switchable, versatile player that didn't complain about getting shots, just worked on his shot, became a better 3-point shooter, started to add a little bit of a dribble drive to his game. Not much, but started to add that to his game. And was a guy that was sort of he started to become like a culture setter type guy for the Mavericks. He was the guy in the playoffs that was getting people together, that was the one that was getting people in line defensively. Even if you watched that game the other night between the Mavs and the Warriors, you heard the audio assist from Dorian. He was mic'd up and it was like, hey, you go there, you go here on defense. And he was calling out assignments and things like that. And he had become a leader in that sense. So the Mavericks are losing a lot when it comes to that. I really wish they could have just put anyone else in the deal besides Dorian because he means so much to this team. But the Mavericks do get more talent, and that's what the game is at the end of the day, is to acquire more talent.
The Mavericks championship odds have shifted from plus 1,900 to plus 1,400 via our friends over at FanDuel. You can go check those out for yourself at FanDuel.com. But Nick, does this move in your eyes make this Mavericks team a championship contender, truly?
This move specifically, no, but it sets up some things. The Mavericks still have more moves to make. I don't expect Christian Wood or Tim Hardaway Jr. to be on this team past the trade deadline. We'll see what they can do with that. But now you've traded a first-round pick. You've traded Dorian. You've traded a contract in Dinwiddie. You've made a move now to go get another star in Kyrie. So they can move some of these first now to try and go get, what if they go get Bogdanovich? What if they go get Miles Turner or whoever else is maybe available out there? The Mavericks still need to make a couple more moves. And if they do that, then maybe I'd consider them a title contender. But right now, I don't think they are. That being said, Luka doesn't need a lot. He doesn't need a lot. Last year, Luka didn't need a ton to go beat the Suns. Last year, Luka didn't need a ton to come back from being injured for 3 games and go beat the Jazz. Like, he just doesn't need a ton. He needs just a couple guys around him to help. They probably need one more really good defensive player, because a starting lineup of Luka, Kyrie, Christian Wood, maybe Dwight Powell, Josh Green's good defender, but if he becomes the starter, if Tim Hardaway Jr. is still starting, if it's Luka, Kyrie, Tim Hardaway, Christian Wood, and Dwight Powell, Sean Sweeney, who's the Mavs assistant that's in charge of defense, is going to have his work cut out for him. So they need to make one more move. And at that case, then I'll start talking about them as a title contender. But for now, they're at least further in that direction than they were.
What will the duo of Luka and Kyrie be able to accomplish for the Mavericks? What moves, if any more, will the Mavericks make ahead of the deadline? Of course, you'll have us covered for all of that and more over at Locked On Mavericks. Nick, I appreciate you stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
Let's go.